Hello, listeners. We welcome you to our first ever Cultural Connection podcast episode.
Yeah.
Yay.
Woo!
Woo.
Very excited.
Um, to
Yeah.
start off, here is some background. We are a podcast of four high schoolers who want to share our own different cultural experience and have others share theirs as well. Each episode will discuss relevant, impactful topics that surround culture, like what is AAVE, or how has colonialism affected your home country, or even conversations about music and food. Our goal is to educate and bring everybody just a little bit closer as we each understand everybody's story. And now let's meet all of our podcast members.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Savannah. I'm a junior and I am white and Filipino.
Hi, my name is Trang. I'm a high school senior and I'm Vietnamese.
Hi, my name is Kenneth. I'm a high school senior also, and I am full Filipino.
And my name is Alexia Sin. I will be this podcast host. I'm a senior in high school and I am also Colombian Chinese born in the US. So today's topic is going to be on cultural identity.
All right, so before we get into that, what exactly is cultural identity by definition?
I am so glad you asked, idiot member of our podcast. Cultural identity is the belonging to a group in terms of their nationality, ethnicity, religion, social class, or really any social group that has its own distinct culture. At least that is what Google says. Thank you, Google. So
Yeah.
now I ask the question. so now I ask the question: what is everybody's own personal definition of cultural identification?
Our own.
Oh.
We'd like to go first.
Trang, you wanna?
So for me, I guess cultural identification is like stuff that in our culture that makes us make us into, I don't know, like a people, like a person, like yourself.
It
Like
makes us unique.
yeah, cuz
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
Jesus.
this is what makes
Yeah.
you unique.
You
It's
can keep going,
Yeah,
Trevor.
basically.
yeah.
What about you, Savannah?
Yeah, I agree, like totally. It's what makes you you. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
like personal identification though?
Oh, like
No,
oh, like I cannot speak. Our definition, our cultural. I'm so sorry. Our definition of culture personally, like to us.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Trang, you wanna go?
Kenneth hasn't even gone. Poor Kenneth.
Okay.
All right.
You go.
My own definition of cultural identification. Whenever I hear culture, I just think of, well, first of all, I'm Filipino, right? So when I think of
Yeah.
cultural identification, I'm like, oh, Filipino. What are things that are part of Filipino culture? So I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
culture identification. It's that culture of my ethnicity, I suppose. Me being Filipino, that's what I am a part of. That's my cultural identification is
Right.
basically, the culture of my ethnicity that I am a part of. That's basically it for me.
yeah.
Alexia?
Such a serious answer. I think I have to agree with everybody. To me, culture identification is honestly just like we all have a set culture that we kind of grow up with, and for
Right.
each ethnicity, all the cultures kind of well, like not all the cultures, but for each ethnicity, its culture just kind of blends in with everybody else that has the same ethnicity. So I feel like culture identification is really just identifying yourself with your own ethnicity and its own cultures and traditions.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
With that aside, what does everyone here identify with? I do know that we have some mixed friends in here. So, what culture do you
Yeah.
more identify
Woo.
with? I'll start
Me
with Savannah because
personally,
she's mixed.
yeah, because mixed. Woo!
Let's
So
go.
honestly, I've always identified more with my Filipino side because I never grew up around white kids and white people. So I was always around Filipino people. So I always felt more like in touch with that side of me rather than my white side because my white relatives live pretty far from here, so I only get to see them like once every year if I'm lucky. But like my mom's Filipino friends, I'm always around them, and I have friends like Kenneth that are Filipino. So yeah, I kind of relate more to Filipino people because that's who I'm always around.
Hmm.
Do you feel like that would have been different if you got the chance to spend more time or just be in touch with people from that side of your family that's white?
Oh yeah. Yeah, cuz if I grew up around white kids, then I would probably be more in touch with my white side. It's always like the way that you're brought up, and like I'm lucky that my mom like went out of her way to make sure that I was very in touch with my Filipino side. But yeah, if I were
Not
around
whitewashed.
white people more often, then I probably would have identified more with that.
Yeah.
Hmm. Also being a mixed person, okay, hold on. So I personally identify more with Asian because I do live with my Asian father, and I don't as just same as Savannah. Like I honestly don't really
Yeah.
get to interact much with my Hispanic side of the family. And then most of my friends are also Asian. I don't really, I mean, I have like a couple Hispanic friends, but most of the environment that I'm around is Asian. But I do have to say a lot of the Asian cultures and traditions me and my father do not follow because my father grew up in like, oh my god, well, he grew up in Venezuela, so he had like
Mhm.
Hispanic traditions, and they
Mhm.
kind of just didn't go with the, like natural like Asian traditions. Like we wear shoes in the house. Yeah, that's
Ew. No, I'm
ah, I'm sorry, your clothes are dirty. But but we don't follow that. My father also doesn't speak Chinese. He speaks like fluent Spanish.
Mhm.
So, I identify more with being Asian, but there are aspects where I just am not Asian. I mean, it doesn't remove the fact that I am Asian, but traditionally there's some things that I do that aren't exactly Asian.
Yeah.
Train, how do you feel with your culture and identity since I know you are
Um,
Vietnamese?
I feel like for me, like I know many friends that are Vietnamese, but they were born in America, so it's a lot
Mm.
different compared to me because I was born in Vietnam. So like there's more of a cultural connection for me. So
Right.
like yeah, and especially in my household, we're a first generation immigrant family, so
Mm.
every is more attached to it. So like
Mhm.
when I go to like temple or like when I go out to eat, it's all
Mhm.
like very like Vietnamese oriented,
Mhm.
which is really cool to for me to see how like mixed people how which culture they like identify with because since I'm like fully Vietnamese, that's the only thing I have, you know?
Mhm.
But that's pretty much it. What about you, Kenneth?
Well, for me, I don't really think there's much else to say besides being Filipino. I mean, every like throughout my life, there was really no way to get around it. It's just, I'm full Filipino. Both my parents are Filipino. Everyone in my family was Filipino up until recently, when my aunt married someone who was Chinese. But even
Let's
still,
go.
but even still, like, Filipino culture, everything. That's all I ever really knew growing up. Uh,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know. But I was thinking about something. Yeah. With especially with Alexia, because I noticed that I never really like thought about like, oh yeah, you can identify with a culture more than another because
Mhm.
you know um you weren't really around for some side of your family, or yeah, that
Mhm.
side of your family wasn't really around that much for you. So I thought that was interesting because I always thought like, oh, somebody's mixed ethnicities, like, they have to have some sort of mix between those two, but I guess not.
Mhm. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people think that, but just because like we're 50-50 doesn't mean we connect like 50-50, you know what I mean?
Oh my god,
Because it's
that
like
was such a good thing to say.
Yeah.
I was my
Something
brain
about that
going,
was
guys.
perfect.
I'm being smart right now. I put on my
Big
thinking cap.
brain.
Congrats.
Big brain.
For once. Oh my god,
For
Savannah.
once.
For
I
once.
can't believe it. My
I'm
mom would
so
be
proud
so
of
proud
you.
of me.
We should
Thank
have a
you.
party after this.
I'm gonna cry. But anyways, but yeah, it really does have to do with like who you grow up around more and like stuff like that, you know?
I
I
get that.
agree. So I do
Yeah.
want to cover the importance of cultural identity. So for everyone here, how is cultural identity important to you?
I think we should start with Savannah since
Okay. Well,
Importance.
I feel like, you know, food is always very important.
yeah, it definitely very
Yeah.
is.
It's
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
Very much is
I
important.
have very many stories. I would like to come out and say, first of all, that the stereotype that white people cannot cook is very true. I'm not going to sit here and lie because it is so, it's like, I go to Thanksgiving every year on the white side of my family, right? So we drive up to East Texas pretty much every Thanksgiving. And when I tell you I walk in the door and I almost want to cry, not once have I had a Thanksgiving where I did not go hungry. So it's like, but what I like about having the two sides is that I at least get to eat good when my mom cooks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Talking
Yeah.
about food though, or actually just like talking about like the importance of cultural identity and food, like, you know, but
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that I have two cultures to identify with because that, I mean, anybody can enjoy like, you know, like,
Yeah, obviously.
Mhm.
you know, other foods from different cultures, but like I get
Yeah.
to enjoy like the authenticity of it. Like, you know, like grandma's cooking or something like that.
Oh
Like, you know,
yeah.
now I get to enjoy
Mhm.
Paula's cooking or abuela's cooking. Well, my abuela doesn't cook, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like
my
more
tita
personal.
cooks. Yeah. Oh, and it
Yeah.
feels so good. So one time we were making oh my god, not empanadas. What are they called? I forget what they're called. We were it was a Mexican dish, but it felt good because we added like um
Limes.
what? we wait, what?
I
Limes,
said
she says.
limes? What
Limes?
did you think I
Because
said?
you're always talking about limes.
I am?
What?
No, Alexia's always talking about
Oh,
adding
yeah,
lime to
yeah.
something.
You always
Oh
say
my
like
god,
in Colombian food you
limes.
add lime to literally
Oh my
everything.
god, yes, lime, everything. Also, my family always does this thing where they do ketchup and mayo. I absolutely
Miss
hate
Girl,
ketchup,
what?
and I don't know.
Wha-
They think it's
Because
Jesus. They
it's
think it's very
amazing.
easy.
You just don't like ketchup. Anyway,
Yeah,
you
you
were
don't like
talking about
No.
something about your you
This
had a
okay.
dish.
food.
They're tamales. So we made tamales once. I gave you some, Savannah. So
The
we made tamales.
bulgogi ones?
Yeah, the bulgogi tamales. So if our listeners don't know, tamales are it's a Mexican dish, I believe. And then bulgogi is it's like Korean meat. It's like
Yeah,
sweet Korean meat.
sweet meat.
So I am not Mexican nor Korean, but it felt good because it's a Hispanic and Asian thing that it just kind of fused together and it's just like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it's like me.
Are you okay?
I am literally this tamale.
You ever identify with a tamale? Let's talk
Oh.
about that.
Yeah, let's talk about identifying with your food.
With your food.
I don't know about that, but I feel like it's very important to me that I'm able to like, you know, like experience both of these cultures like growing up
Right.
because you know, it just it feels nice to experience both cultures and stuff like that. And it's
Mhm.
important to me. So, let's mix this up a bit. What about you, Kenneth? What about you?
What about me? What about me being
Yeah,
full
what
Filipino
about
and
you?
being
Yeah, what about you?
What
my
about
my
you?
Filipino food all my life? Okay, well on the topic of food, since we're talking about it, I love Filipino food. I love it to death. I love everything about it.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, Filipino food to me
Me
is
too.
amazing. Yeah, but
Are we hungry?
I mean, I just
It's
ate,
always
so I'm not
hungry.
really
Are
that
y'all
hungry.
getting fed?
It's
I'm
always
kind of
hungry.
hungry. I mean, everybody's talking about food, and I'm like, oh,
Damn, you know, I got
We're
the
already
BTS chicken
hungry.
nuggets over here.
Oh yeah, the
This is
BTS.
not sponsored. We're not
No,
sponsored
no,
by
we're not
Not
sponsored by
McDonald's.
sponsored.
McDonald's.
Yes.
mm-mm.
But Filipino food.
Continue, Kenneth.
Yeah, Filipino food. I mean, it's just always been really good. And I want to
Yep.
bring up it's I don't want to like, stroke our ego as like Filipinos, but a lot of people seem to want to try it just like all the time. I mean, it's the same thing with like
Oh, that's
yeah,
true.
a lot of
Mhm.
different cultures the same, but I notice it's also like a popular thing with Filipino food. Just, I mean, it's good and it's nice and there's a lot of things to explore about it. So I just
Yeah.
think that's really cool, and it being a part of my cultural identity, I think it's great for food to
Mhm.
be something really big about Filipino culture because it definitely
Mhm.
is. Because trust me when I say, when you think of Filipinos, one of the first things you think about is food.
Yep.
Think
Because
of ukuleles.
don't the songs, the national anthem.
Is a ukulele what?
No, the lemonade. You know.
That's
Oh
what
yeah, you guys'
Also
national
also
anthem.
music. But we'll get into that into a bit.
Yeah, we'll
But
get into that.
yeah, food. We're very good with our food. I'd like to say anyway.
So I'm
Yeah.
hearing that everyone's personal importance of cultural identity is food.
Yeah, we love food.
Okay, well,
It's a huge aspect to it, obviously.
yeah,
Yeah.
a big part of your culture is food.
Is food because your parent is always cooking for you, especially if you have an Asian parent. They are always cooking for you.
Yeah.
Oh, and when
And
you
they're
go
like,
see your grandparents, are like, here, eats, and they try to feed you so much.
so Trent, what about
They
you?
feed you so
Like
much.
Vietnamese food.
Bro, Vietnamese food is bomb. I don't even know words. Comfort food. But I feel like I like eating Vietnamese food because like I get to learn about my culture because like now that I am in America, it's hard for me to like have like some sort of connection to Vietnam.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I get
like
that.
it just like connects me to like my home, like my home
Mhm.
country, which is nice to have. And like I'm really proud that like lately Vietnamese food has been on a rise like
Yep,
with
that's
like
true. Like
Oh yeah.
American
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
like everybody's talking about pho or banh mi and stuff like that. And it just makes me like
I want some right now.
I
it
know.
just yeah, it just makes me so like happy that my culture is being like showcased. But
Mhm.
like, it's not always about food. It's like um
Like
holidays,
what Kenneth
you
was
know?
saying, like music and stuff, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
holidays,
Oh,
traditions.
talking about music, you know that Vietnamese song that has been like
Yeah.
everywhere on
Yeah.
TikTok. Sorry, I
Wait,
like
was
that
it
song.
good?
I do.
Wait, you said it. Yeah, like
Let's go.
yeah. No, it sounded so
Yeah.
good.
I have a question
Let's
though.
go.
Yeah.
Because Trang, you were talking about how well, this doesn't only apply to Vietnamese culture, but in general. But I want to ask you, since you brought it up about Vietnamese food being more popular in America,
Yeah.
do you feel like there's like downsides to that? Like huge
Yes.
downsides to that?
Oh my
No,
god.
for real.
Oh, that's a
You
good
keep going. I
question.
have something to say about
Yeah.
this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have stuff to add to
Yeah.
that.
All right. Go on, Trang.
Okay, I hate it. Like literally they make Vietnamese food so bad. It's so bland and it's so like sorry, Savannah. It's so white. I don't even it's like the seasonings are it's like they do it to cater to Americans, but
To
then
American taste
it's
buds.
not
Yep.
yeah, but then it's not like
It's not authentic. Like,
yeah, it's not
mhm.
authentic. Like it doesn't taste the same. So
Yeah,
it's not even that anymore.
and I'm sure they don't do it to like obviously just to ruin the food, but it's sort of it's not entirely offensive, but you just sort of get upset about it because
Yeah.
Like, I
you
don't
know,
want to
it's
gatekeep, but I want to gatekeep.
yeah.
I will proudly gatekeep.
No, look, because the pain, because Chinese American food, it's its own little thing, like freaking fucking
Panda
General
Express.
Tso's
Yeah.
chicken. I don't even know. It makes me really mad because like like my own culture's food. I mean, it's not like I eat like that much like Chinese food, you know.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say we're whitewashed, but pretty Americanized. Too bad. Plus, we're from Hong Kong, so northern China, like mainland China. Is that even mainland China? Man, I don't know. But we eat a lot of like Cantonese food. Most of the
Oh.
food that is made in Hong Kong, and
Mhm.
it's because China's so big. It's very different. It's very different everywhere. So, but it just makes me really like it gets my blood boiling whenever somebody wants to give me Chinese American food. It's like, why? That's so nasty. Mexican American food or Tex-Mex.
Tex-Mex.
Yes.
Oh my
I would
god.
like to add something to that.
Oh
I
my
went to this
god.
restaurant and they had like what's it called? Like birria tacos. Like the
Mhm.
stuff they put like the
Burrito
I
tacos.
wanted to cry at how bad it was so like why would you do that? Like that's an entire insult to every Mexican person ever. They need to come out with an apology. It was
Is
horrible.
Oh,
what
whenever they modernize food,
Oh, I
like
hate that.
I know it's just like, what are you doing? Leave it's literally food. Leave it as it is.
Reject modernity, embrace tradition.
Exactly.
Period.
is burrito
Burri-
tacos like not like a traditional thing or what? What are you talking about?
Burrito
don't know,
tacos.
but whatever they did, it did not taste good.
Just that one specifically, or just like the whole like burrito tacos in general?
No. I'm sure birria tacos are great, but I had
Oh,
them for
okay.
the first time. I had them at this restaurant, and it was sad. It was sad.
Mm.
I feel so bad for people who have only eaten like Taco Bell tacos, like you've never had like a street
Oh,
taco or anything like
come
that.
on.
Or you've never had, oh my god, like you've only had like Panda Express Chinese food. Like you need to
That's
go
so
to
depressing.
you need to go to Asia Town. You need to go find one of those little little Asian
Those
restaurants
hole in the
that
wall
have
restaurants.
Yes,
hole in the
those
wall
are the
restaurants.
best.
You know the
Tables have the
best?
white cloth
Yep.
that they
And
just
the menus are like yellowed and the pictures are really
No,
Oh
crappy.
yeah,
not even that. The
Best
table
food.
has to be sticky. The table
yeah,
has
the
to be
table has
yellow.
to be
and
sticky.
the
It
leather
has
seats
to
have
have
to
those
be
round
cracked.
thingies.
Yup.
How
Yup.
many
And there's
people have leather
always a
seats?
kid doing homework and
I've never seen that.
Standards.
And they're always
Believe it or
yelling
not.
into the kitchen too.
And the staff is like low key really mean. That's how you know it's a good restaurant.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. We go to this restaurant that's in Chinatown, and well, we used to go to it like a lot before we just kind of stopped because
Mhm.
the service is really bad. Like I'm gonna say the service is super bad. It's so bad. But it's so good. Oh my god, I'd be lying if I didn't say that their service was, I mean, not their service. Their service is bad. But their food is so good. It's also just like it's a oh my god, how do I say this? Like we've been there ever since I was a child. Like we used to always go there every weekend to go eat. I don't even know how the owners don't know us because we went there every single day. Not every day, sorry, every week. But it's just like it's like a little part of my childhood because
Childhood.
I just remember like being there and they opened up a grocery store right next to it.
Mhm.
But before that, they used to have a theater. It's like a Chinese theater that was next to there.
Oh.
I didn't watch any
Oh.
of the shows because they were never on, or even if I did, I don't remember. But all of the what do you call it? Like all the things that you could like sitting places, seating area.
Mhm.
It was made out of stone, so all of the seating area
Hmm.
was like it was made out of stone and everything, and it was just like it's like stools, if that makes sense. And I just
Uh-huh.
remember when I was little, they were painted red too, and there was like a little fountain. But I just remember when I was little, I used to like step over each of the stools while I was like waiting for
Mhm.
God knows what. But I just remember doing that, and it's such a like it's a nice part to
Little
remember.
memory. Yeah.
Especially that restaurant. I'm sorry we don't go there anymore. We go somewhere else. The food is still good. It's just It's not like the one that
That
we went to. But
But about like food, because you know how Kenneth said like, what are like downsides to your
Yeah.
food becoming popular? I saw on TikTok this dreaded app the other day.
Oh yeah.
Somebody had
TikTok.
chicken tinola. It's the Filipino food. I don't really know how to describe it because
Okay.
my mom doesn't make it.
Okay,
I
go
probably
ahead.
said it wrong.
Well, I mean, it's tinola. Yeah.
Yeah, tinola.
Okay.
But I don't really know how to like describe it because my mom doesn't really make it. But
hmm
they like it was a video of that and all the comments were like, oh, that looks nasty. That looks like, oh, that's so like unseasoned. Like, but it's kind of hurtful because like that's my culture and
Yeah.
you're bashing my food.
That's
Like what if I
exactly.
walked into a McDonald's and I was like, ugh, that looks nasty. That burger
okay,
looks
but it
disgusting
is. No,
Yeah,
no,
it's
no,
not.
but it
Yeah, I mean,
is.
it's
We
It
were
fast
is.
food, but
today.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about, especially
Yeah.
TikTok. Just social media in general, they just love to like, stuff becomes
to
like
bash.
it gets popular or whatever,
Yeah.
or like some post it shows something and it's just like, oh, people who aren't familiar with it, right? People
Yeah.
love to say something about something that they don't know about, and
Mhm.
like obviously, oh, they might actually think it looks disgusting, but that's
Yeah,
really
and
like
it's disrespectful,
that's like a
like
huge you're judging something without even trying it.
exactly. And I remember there was this trend going around on there where people would try fufu. I think that's Nigerian, right? I
Uh-huh.
think
Yeah, I remember that. I remember
Yep.
that.
And they would be so disrespectful about it. They would like spit it out and they'd be like, "Oh, this is nasty. How do you eat this?" And it reminded me as this thing a lot of like people of color go through in like elementary is bringing ethnic food to school for the first time and then someone being like, "Ew, that looks disgusting. How do you
Oh,
eat that?"
I remember. Yeah, I remember
Yep. And
those.
I remember I was like 9 or 10 and I brought chicken adobo to school.
Yeah, yeah.
And this kid was like, "That looks like mud. It looks like there's dirt in your rice."
Oh
And
my
I was
god,
like,
that's
it's
terrible.
like, "Oh my god. Oh my god." Because when you flame somebody's food like that, that's so disrespectful because it's their culture. Like that's a part of who they are.
Exactly.
That's so
Yeah.
No,
mean. Oh my
it's
god.
crazy because like then it makes you question your culture and then you're like, well,
Exactly. Yeah. Like it makes you ashamed to be who you are because there's these people that are making fun of you for it. And then you're like, well,
mhm,
I don't want to be like this anymore.
right. Oh, like
So
oh, I'm sorry.
oh, no,
Did
no,
I
it's okay. Keep
interrupt
going, keep
someone?
going.
I was thinking like balut, like like
Yeah,
me, like my family, we
exactly.
try it and it like we have it because like like we eat it all the time and it's like crazy good. And then people are like, "Ew, it's gross." If it's gross to you, don't eat it. Don't just
Yeah.
like hate on
And
other people.
and for those that don't know, balut is like it's like a duck egg, but the baby duck is still in the egg.
Yeah,
So it's
Yeah,
like a
it's like
it's
duck
a
strip.
fertilized duck
yeah,
egg.
Yeah,
it's like developing, but it's not,
yeah,
it's not hatched yet, but it's very
yeah.
much there. And I know, in fact, this used to be a trending thing also. I remember it, maybe I don't remember exactly when, but years ago, definitely it became something that people were doing, and a lot of people were like,
Mhm.
"That's disgusting," and I'm like, "Dog,
Yeah.
like you don't have to say that. Like
Mhm.
you can
Oh,
be totally respectful and like not
mhm.
like it. Just don't,
And you know what's a really good example of this is I remember, I'm sure we can do, all of you know what durian is, right? Like the fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love
Yes.
So,
durian.
durian is like a really, it's a fruit that's
Pungent.
common in like Asia, like East Asia.
It
So I
smells.
remember being like 10 or so, I was watching this video from a channel whose name I will not disclose. And they were like, it was like a bunch of their workers trying durian for the first time. And they were all like, ew, ew, nasty, this is so gross because durian has a very pungent smell, but
Mhm.
it's not like disgusting and they were just being over dramatic about it. And it was low key insulting because I eat durian, a lot of my friends eat durian, my family eats durian. It was just like, what the heck, dude? Like, if I took an apple and I was like, ew, what the heck? Like, it would be like, hey, man, what the heck? Why are you doing that?
I have actually never had durian. I want to try it one day.
You haven't had her? It's not
No,
that.
I haven't.
It's not as bad as people say it is. They were
I
being
don't think it is. I
overdramatic.
think it's just the smell.
Yeah, the smell
I'm
is
down with
it's
it.
not great, but I mean, if you put it in your mouth and you eat it, it's not that bad.
Oh,
But what do you call it? But talking about like how people would make fun of your food and how that would, kind of make you kind of question or feel a little bit
Yeah.
ashamed about your cultural identity. That kind of ties into my next question.
Mhm.
So have you ever felt proud to identify with your culture or maybe even
Oh yeah.
struggled to identify with
Yeah.
it?
hmm
Both.
I mean, I feel like we all
Yeah,
have.
Yeah,
of course.
both.
Everyone has
But
definitely.
I would like to share a personal story about struggling to identify with my. So, as we all know here, I am bicultural,
Mhm.
but because
bicultural.
bicultural, anyways, but because of that, I've had a fair share with struggles with my
Mhm.
culture. Like, oh my god, a lot. Which I feel like some people would find weird because it's like, why do you have like it's culture, like calm down. But so I grow up in an Asian household, but we don't do traditional Asian things, which makes me
Mhm.
feel less Asian. And then I'm half
Mm,
Asian, so a lot of
Yep.
people like to come at me and be like, "Bro, you're not even Asian. You're only half Asian." Like
Yep.
that doesn't make a difference. And then again, with like not wearing, it's mostly common when it's like, oh, I don't wear shoes in the house. And like, are you even Asian? You're not. You wear shoes
Mhm.
in the house. You're not Asian. Stop it. Stop being an Asian boo. I was
Isabel,
called, yes, I was called that once. It was,
are you? Wait, actually,
yes, by some white girl too. Because
oh,
I guess I look white passing.
you
And I
don't
remember
though.
saying, I don't know. To some people, I guess I do. It's because I also don't have the like,
The monolid, or like,
well, like this stereotypical like Asian
like, oh
features,
yeah.
like super straight,
Well,
like
duh, you're
black
mixed.
hair, monolids, flat nose.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty white. But things like that. It's just like people just kind of look at me like, oh, okay, yeah, you're white passing. You have a nose bridge. You are white passing now.
That's
So
stupid.
I know, right? So for a while, I very much struggled to identify with being Asian, and then also along with the fact that I was going to a school that didn't have many Asian people. I was around. Well, I mean, I was best friends with literally two white people. So for not the entirety, well, yeah, for the entirety of my fifth grade, like into sixth grade year, um, I wanted to be white. Oh my god, I want to be white. You know Lele Pons and how she's like, oh yeah, I'm Hispanic.
Oh,
I'm Hispanic. I'm
yeah.
Hispanic. Like, that was me. That was me. I was like, yeah, I'm
Okay,
Hispanic. Did you know I was Colombian? Oh my god. I
Lele, please
love
don't sue
being
us.
Colombian. But I don't know. I even like whenever Popo used to, or my grandma, she used to give me like food because I would come home to her house after
Mhm.
school. I'd be like, this is nasty. What are you feeding me? Woman,
Oh
what are you
boy.
feeding me? Get this
Oh
away from
man.
me.
ooh.
Can you go get me some burgers?
Oh my
That's
god.
No, I'm just kidding. But
not that there's
but
anything wrong with
that's
burgers.
burgers are good. But
Well,
I love
it's kind of
burgers.
We
bland
just
though.
had
I love
today,
burgers.
man. It's good.
I don't
No
know.
shade to
Depends on where you
burgers.
get them. I just don't like
That's
eating them
true.
because they're messy.
You don't
That's
like them
all.
because there's ketchup.
That's true. But anyways, I struggled with my culture identity a lot. I think it was until this is kind of weird. Until I found K-pop, I stopped kind of struggling with my cultural identity because
Mhm.
in American television or in American like just American media. There
Media.
you go.
Yep.
American media. So how many Asian people? Okay, name me 5 Asian actors off the top of your head. Go ahead.
Constance Wu.
I know one. Lucy Liu.
Jackie Chan.
Okay, now name me 5 like white American actors. You can
I
literally
can't.
name.
I can't do
Name
either.
Leonardo da Vinci. I mean,
DiCaprio.
No.
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio. I know my actors, guys.
Uh-huh.
Loser.
Well, I feel like for a lot of people it'd be easier to name, especially if
Right.
you like to name like white actors rather than Asian actors. You don't really see that many Asian actors or Asian like
Yeah.
characters or anything like that. Any character, I've talked about this before so many times because I feel like, well, I don't know, maybe personally for me, but any character that just was like somewhat Asian coded, like they literally just had to have black hair and look Asian. I was just like, oh my god, I love
Oh
you
my
so
God,
much. Danny Phantom, I was like, you're so Asian.
Yeah,
You're so
I love you. So Asian, I love you.
you know that
But-
one fairy from Tinkerbell, the
Oh,
Miss one.
Oh,
Like
yes.
Asian.
She was so
love
Asian.
her.
She was so Asian.
And
She
that's
was so
why
Asian.
like media representation is so important to young people because you don't when I like now I feel like there's a rise not to like up to status, like but there's like a
Right.
rise of Asian actors that I would have loved to see as a kid. Like I don't even think I could name a Filipino actor except like one guy off of some show about the supermarket.
What?
Oh yeah.
I don't even know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
I
Just,
stopped
like,
watching American television.
I just think that's really
But-
interesting though.
Yeah.
I wonder how many
Mhm.
people like have been through similar situations, I suppose.
Mhm.
And even maybe just like reconnected back with their culture. Because I know whenever I got into K-pop around like late 7th grade to 8th grade year, I think I
Mhm.
just saw these people. I think I just saw these people. These people. I think I just saw these, like Korean, Asian girls that looked like me. And I was just
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, I look like that. And they're famous. Oh, I look like that and they're famous. I just remember just little 7th grade me being like looking at Blackpink and being like, I look like that. I look like Jenny. Well, I don't like look like Jenny, but I just remember being like,
Close
like,
enough.
I was like, dang, even Asians can get famous.
It's
It's kinda
something
sad
to
to think
relate
that.
to. Like
It's
even
nothing
if
to relate to.
yeah, even if like like you don't like look exactly like them, you're part of the same race. It's something to relate to, and it helps you
Mhm.
sort of connect that way.
And it makes you feel proud. Like I know whenever I'm sorry, I'm into K-pop. I'm so sorry. I'm a K-poppy. This is embarrassing.
Bro.
Wasn't I just talking about the BTS meal? Anyways,
Yes.
I'm not even into BTS. So NCT, right? They have this one member named Lucas, and he's from Hong Kong. Oh my god, when I found that out, I was so happy. I don't know, something about like finding out not a character.
A
He's not a
character.
character.
It's
No,
supposed-
no, an idol
not
or a
real.
character. No, just like an idol or a character that is just like from China. I get so happy, like
That's
you're
true,
also
though,
from China? Let's go, man. It's like is it nationalism? I really don't know.
That
I
I
don't
don't
think that's
What
the
is
right-
nationalism?
It's just-
What-
you're proud of your name.
I'm proud of my
your,
culture.
what do you-
My
I don't know
name-
how I'm blanking.
What is nationalism?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
If I
nationalism.
remember correctly, I learned this in AP World History, guys.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. I didn't
Okay,
pay
loser.
attention. I did not pay attention, but if I remember like a little bit, nationalism is like believing your country is the best in the world, like number one. Like nobody
Yo,
beats your country.
China number one. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, aren't we colonizers or something? I need to brush up
Yeah.
on this.
Yeah, you are. You colonizers.
I
I'm
think you
so sorry,
colonized
Jane.
me.
Oh,
I'm
you
so
know,
sorry.
I will bring that up. China did not colonize the Philippines.
They didn't.
They
Oh,
did
okay.
No.
Colonized by,
In
like,
fact, they helped
everybody in
us,
the
I think. That's from what I looked up.
Haha,
Yay,
you're
China.
welcome. I don't need to
Something
go
about
do
the
reparations
economy
now.
and like trade.
Yeah.
I help you
Thanks,
guys.
gang. I love
I'm
China.
dapping you up right now.
There may or may not have been things between Filipinos and or just China and the Philippines, but I don't know.
How do you say I love you in Chinese?
Isn't
I
it
only
like
know it in Mandarin. Well, I need.
Well, I need.
I don't
It
speak
sounded
Mandarin.
like
I just
whoa, and then I, and then me, like
Me.
your knee.
I was trying to say thank you, and I almost said kamsahamnida.
I am not Korean. Your mom
Oh.
always says I look Korean. It's kind of weird.
She does.
She does. I remember one time we went to the
I
art museum. She was like,
apologize.
"You look so Korean." I was like,
I apologize.
Okay.
That's dramas. I want to be Korean so bad. I'm so sorry. I think Leilani's the one struggling with her culture. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry, Mom. But like, yeah, speaking of like struggling with your culture, I feel like that's a thing every mixed kid goes through, and I'm still going through.
Oh, and I know you have
Aw.
it probably pretty worse because, like,
Oh yeah.
you're just white. You're just white.
Yep. Yeah. Oh,
You're only white, Savannah.
let me talk about that. So, if the person that did that to me is listening, this is no shade to you. I hold nothing against you. I'm just using it as an example. But
No, all of the
there was
shade.
no, shut up. I don't want to be. I want no more enemies. There was this point, like I think it was like the end of last year. I had an ex-friend who would always invalidate my cultural identity. My cultural
Like,
identity. They would. So sometimes when I tell somebody that I'm half white, they refuse to see me as Filipino.
mm.
And I am both. Thank you. So this friend knew that I was half white, and they would only refer to me as white. They would never talk about my Filipino side. And whenever I would try to like rant or vent or something, they would say, "Oh, shut up, you're white," or like something like that. And usually, it doesn't get to me. But when I'm trying to be vulnerable, and you tell me that, then it's like, what the heck? And also, it's invalidating to me because I'm not just white. I'm also Filipino. So it's just annoying to have to deal with people telling you what you are when that's not what you are. Like, I'm not just white. I have a whole Filipino side, and that Filipino side is very important to me because, like I said earlier, that's what I grew up most around. Yeah.
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 Sorry, I got quiet. But I totally agree with you. So there are a lot of people. I'm sorry, this is like a mixed dominated conversation.
Sorry, gang.
But sorry guys. But what do you call it? So a lot of people just refuse to think I'm Hispanic. Not to think, but refuse to acknowledge that I'm Hispanic.
Yeah.
Like I'll be like, yeah, I'm Asian Hispanic. They'll be like, okay, so you're Asian and white. What?
I don't
How
understand
did they
that.
get
I
to the
don't.
What?
white? I don't understand that.
Like I remember telling someone, I just remember like, oh yeah, I'm Chinese Colombian. Oh, okay, so you're just Asian and white. What?
Oh my
So,
god.
like,
Maybe they
what
just don't understand what
what
Colombian
gears
is.
through your
Their
hair?
thinking cap is not on at the moment.
Like, what
They're having
gears
they're
turn
having a
to
little.
think that?
They're buffering.
They're struggling. They're struggling
They're
just a little bit.
struggling. Having a
I
moment.
would say it's okay, but honestly, oh my gosh, I feel it's
Honestly, it's not okay. It's
It feels a
like
little
if
bit
you
offensive
know,
to me.
yeah, because if you know my cultural identity and my race, then why are you referring to me as something that's not my cultural identity and my race?
And it
Mhm.
also just like it not undermines, but it erases a whole entire like struggle, like an
Yes.
entire struggle that you go through with being
That brings me to something
mixed.
because it's invalidating because being a person that's also Filipino, I go through struggles dealing with like racism and stuff because I don't look white, I mean, you can tell I'm mixed with something, but I don't look like I'm fully white. And when you don't acknowledge that other side of me, you're completely erasing some of the things that I've been through, which is so like, that's so bad. Like, it's not okay.
I feel like I don't know. It's so frustrating. It is so frustrating.
Yeah.
And it makes you like, just feel a little like very distant from your
Feel
culture.
bad.
It feels
Yeah.
makes you feel super distant from your culture. Whenever people say like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're not Asian. You're only half." Oh my god, you're only half Asian. Like I'll
You're
talk about
only have
anything.
that really like hurts my
It
feelings. Like,
hurts, and
I mean,
it
I
makes me feel
am.
like yeah, and it just I don't know. Personally, for me, it makes me feel so much more distant from being Asian.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that's true. I am only half because I'll talk about like the racism that I have experienced being Asian, and be like, but you're
Right.
only half Asian. Like, oh,
That's so
okay, I guess
invalidating and so wrong.
it's so. But we'll pass it off to the to to
To the full Asian?
non-mixed to
Oh,
what?
Trank.
Mhm.
I have a question kind of.
Hmm.
How do you think like has like being born in Vietnam and moving here, has that affected how you feel about your cultural identity?
Oh, so much. So when I first came here, I was in the first grade. I've
Mhm.
never realized how racist kids can be
That's so
until I
true.
moved to America.
That is so true.
'Cause, so when I went to the school, they thought I was
Mhm.
Chinese, which was
Mhm.
like, "Okay, nope. Anyways,
Mhm.
please." And to the point where some kid pointed the pinky finger at me and was like, "That's the Chinese middle finger," and I was
Oh
like,
my
"I
Why
can't
gosh.
was
even
that a
speak
thing?
English."
Why was that a thing? This is like, no, it's not really off topic, but in third grade, there was a Chinese exchange student at my school, and this girl was like, go tell her you want to do a pinky promise. She'll get offended because she thinks it's the middle finger. I was like,
What?
No, and, like, he did that, and I thought he was trying to make a pinky promise, so I crossed our pinkies together.
Oh,
oh.
Alright,
misintended.
please.
Misintended. But
Oh.
you ever see how just kids get away with like the most racist
No, and
like
I think
most
it's
racist
not
shit?
That's
the
where they learn
kids'
it from.
fault. I think it's their parents that
It's
teaches them
always
to
fair.
be like that.
True.
Racism is a learned behavior, but we can get into that in another episode.
Yeah.
You're so right. You're so right. But Kenneth, have you ever felt proud or even struggled to identify with your
Struggled.
culture?
Um, um, well, I wasn't born in the Philippines. I was born in New Jersey. But here, like just going to school, it's
Oh
so
god.
funny because I've always been proud of my culture and I've never felt anything against my culture because I've only ever felt something with my race, not my culture,
Mm.
because they
Mhm.
don't. It's not every time they address something about my they want to say something about my culture. It's not the right one.
Oh, that's actually a really no, that's a
Yeah,
really good point
and
because I know Asians, we come in very like it's
All
so different,
sorts of different
especially
things.
because whenever some people think of Asians, they think only East Asians.
Mhm.
So, does
But
it
there's
ever make
like,
you feel less Asian because you don't fit into these stereotypes of East Asians?
yes, yes.
oh, that's an
I feel
interesting
like
way to
that's
put
true
it.
with a lot of Filipinos, though. Like, I feel like a lot of Filipino kids struggle with that because a lot of times, we don't fit the standard that, like, the stereotypical Asian that everybody thinks of.
That's so true. Actually, I
Mhm.
was thinking about that. I think I should talk about that considering, like I know Savannah, like, whenever you talk about your ethnicity, mostly people would just talk about the fact that you're white,
Yeah.
right? So like for me, it's like, oh, I'm full Filipino, right? So then people have always just been like, oh, so like, I guess, I mean, at an early age, I suppose they never really even knew what the Philippines was, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
true,
And
though.
like they're like,
Nobody knows what.
"What's that?" I'm like, "Dog." What do you mean? But anyway,
When I was younger, yeah.
yeah.
Somebody thought the Philippines was in South America, and I was like, no, dog.
What?
Newsflash.
Personally, I've never that's interesting to think about because I never really thought about that. Like me being Filipino makes me less Asian. That's very funny because I've always saw myself as the two. It's Asian and Pacific Islander, and technically they're both
Yep.
correct. So I
Right.
was like, people have like asked me like, oh, so are you like, is that really Asian, right? And I was like, yeah, it is, but it's also Pacific Islander. Both of them are right, and they're like, no, you're just Pacific Islander. That's actually happened recently,
That's
and
so
I'm like,
true. That's so true.
can you use Google? Can you look it up, please? Like for one freaking second. But that's really interesting to bring up the fact that that's the only thing well, not the only thing, but that's one thing I suppose, like struggling with my culture, I suppose, because they've never really identified it correctly. And I was talking about earlier about struggling. It's always just been about race, never been about my ethnicity because they don't even know
Mhm.
what it is. So they're always just like, "Oh, are you Chinese?" I'm like, "Oh my God, are you
God.
serious?"
Who's Chinese?
I'm like,
Jesus.
Who's
take
Chinese?
take a class, listen in class. Just,
Look
you
at
know,
my
you go to
face and tell
school.
me, do I look
It's
Chinese?
crazy. And so that it's never made me feel anything about my ethnicity. No, I don't think anyone's ever. I don't have a memory about somebody saying anything down on Filipinos. Just
You don't have a memory period.
yeah, I
He has
guess
no memory.
I don't have a memory at all. But I don't have anything I can recall where it's been something down about Filipinos. More just like, oh, you're Asian, Chinese, haha. You know, something of that sort. And yeah, that's basically it.
Mm-hmm. I kind of have a question for Alexia.
Mhm.
Did you like hashtag mixed kids struggle? Did you like, you know, like on standardized tests, sometimes you have to put like you have to bubble in your race.
Oh my
I
god, and
have
when you had
a
to only put
specific-
one.
Oh wow.
I have a specific memory from when I was like, I don't know, I was 8 or something, and we were doing a test, and the options were like white, Asian, African American, Hispanic, Pacific Islander. I sat there for so long. I was like, am I Asian or am I Pacific Islander? Or do I put white? And I filled in all three.
Were you allowed to do that?
No, I don't think so, but I didn't know what else to do.
I
Wow.
remember there was a standardized test that we took, and you could only pick one. So I raised my hand and asked the teacher, like, what if you're both? Or like, what if you're two? And they're like, just pick one that you most identify with. So usually when they say that, I pick Asian because
Me too.
I guess that is what I most identify with. But sometimes it hurts because it's like, am I just like ignoring my Hispanic side? So
I
what
know,
I
like,
so what I started doing is I just started picking like Hispanic and Asian. Like if there's only one, I'll just alternate between them.
That's interesting. That's funny.
Today I'm
district is looking at
Hispanic,
your
tomorrow I'll pick
paperwork.
Asian. Like,
You're
oh my god,
confusing
what
the district.
ethnicity is this person?
I never thought about that either.
How is she two at once? It's impossible.
But I think today that we learned quite a lot about each
Yeah.
other's cultural identity, and I think we all like had a very nice moment where we just kind of connected with our similar experiences. There we go. I'm trying to think of words. So I think that is going to be all for today. I would like to thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe for more content.
Totally.
On the notifications.
But just
Follow us on
kidding.
Twitter and Instagram and Skype.
And
Guys?
Skype. All of our social medias will be down below. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Until the next time, whenever we talk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yay!
Just for the
Yeah.
future, there's gonna be more. We'll have different things, and we'll talk about more. So
And we'll have more people. I'm
yeah, we'll have
excited
more
for them.
people.
Mhm.
Goodbye,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yay!
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
You.